How you guys doing? My name is Alden Filion. I'm an environment artist currently working in the video games industry. I wanted to share with you guys the experience I just got done working on. How you guys doing? My name is Alden Filion. I'm an Into the Stars artist currently working in a video game studio called Fugitive Games. It was a very interesting experience and a lot of lessons learned throughout the way. I was an art director on the game, but also the only artist at Fugitive Games. So there's a lot of lessons learned, a lot of tips and tricks on how to use limited resources and how to go about creating workflows and pipelines that are going to get you the best bang for your buck. I also have some portfolio work that you guys can ask me about, and a current project of mine that I'm working on, Project Diode, which is a small little game that I'm trying to make all by myself too. So feel free to come on and ask me pipeline questions, production questions, and anything you guys can think of, software questions, whatever you guys can think of. Feel free to hop on, ask me anything, and hope to see you guys there. All right, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all around the world, thank you very much for joining us for a very special edition of Game School Online, GSO Live. We have none other than Mr. Alden Filion, who's going to walk us through all the amazing art that he did as the art director, as the art workhorse, a part of Fugitive Games. He is the incredible art director, Alden Filion, Unreal 4 specialist. I don't have any other things to tag on there. Alden, what's up, dude?
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for the awesome intro.
Of course. And we also have with us Mr. Brandon Pham.
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right.
How you doing?
So, okay, Alden, we're live. So, yeah, what do you have to tell us today? I'm kidding. I'll let you do your own introduction. You may want to drop a couple of resume items or let people know what you've worked on so that we can warm up into the presentation.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I'm Alden Filion. Currently, I am a senior environment artist, map lead at Certain Affinity. I just got done working on a game called Into the Stars, where a couple of guys and I decided to open up a studio and make a game called Into the Stars, and we released it on Steam on March 4th, which is a pretty awesome experience to go through, going through a Kickstarter process, going through Steam Greenlight, and then going into early access with Into the Stars. It's pretty rare that a game gets to do that, and I was really fortunate to be one of those games. So it was a cool experience, and hopefully I get to talk a little bit on all those processes and what we went through and some of the lessons learned going through that stuff.
Awesome. So yeah,
I'll dive into some of it, just at least how we kind of started the game and the development process.
Yeah.
So we gathered around and had like a little summit meeting for like a week where we discussed loosely all the features that we wanted kind of in the game. And it was just a basic high level structure of what the game's going to be. Like, you're going to go to planets. It's going to be in third person. You're going to be the captain. And then that's when we first started talking about we really want to have that like Captain Picard vision for the game. So in Captain Picard, he's like, number one, or Stations or Wesley, he's always like guiding, and he's very authoritative, like the way that he commands the ship. So we kind of wanted to reflect that somehow into the game. So I decided to have that be like, you see the first person view of the captain like pointing. So as soon as you go into like a station in the game, you'll see that going through. So the initial first week was that summit where we kind of planned out everything and gathered at somebody's house and just had like a big whiteboard that we had made. And then we talked for we prototyped it first. After that week, after the little stand up, we prototyped everything. I actually just
hey, welcome.
Hey.
All right. James Lewis is Alden Filion, art director from Into the Stars. Thank you for joining our live session.
Hey, what's up, man?
So he's just to catch you up to speed, he's kind of breaking down the process of going through Kickstarter and being art director and the things he wanted to achieve. All right, cool.
Got it.
Take it away.
All right, so we got together. We did a quick summit meeting where we talked about some of the features and stuff, and then we decided to, or I just got into with Unreal. The best part of Unreal is you can prototype quickly, and that's what kind of makes it a more superior engine to everything else is that you can do blueprints and prototype any functionality. So over a weekend, I prototyped like a basic functionality of the game with like a rough spaceship, a couple blueprints of camera movements going back and forth and stuff like that. Once we had that going, we were able to kind of get a bigger plan. I feel like a lot of teams, like, they kind of struggle on just staying into that planning phase and not getting into the engine, because a lot changes. You can have like documentations and all these game design docs, but once you get into the engine, you won't realize how much of that is actually possible or how much of that is in flux and can change. So like once we had the summit meeting, we got into the engine, and then we had to, our game evolved another step after that. Like, okay, now that we're in the engine, now we know what we can do, what we can get away with.
Okay.
So we got to another planning meeting after that, and then we took that, we kept evolving a demo, and then got it to go into Kickstarter, basically.
One second. Hey, James, do you mind muting your microphone until you have a question? I think we hear like conversation and stuff. Yeah. All right, thanks, buddy. Yeah, all right, cool. It sounds like everything's good now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good. Yeah. No worries, James. It's all good. I think it was from your end because I saw you kept popping up on the screen like you were saying something. All right, cool. But yeah, if you have a question, feel free to unmute and ask any questions you want. We encourage that. So no big deal.
So then that takes us into the Kickstarter process for the game, which it was very stressful. It wasn't like it was something that I kind of wasn't prepared to do. I would advise any team that goes to do a Kickstarter to give it its own month of development into just the Kickstarter part of it, because there's a whole bunch of ancillary little things that people don't calculate that need to be done. Like, you have to make every single icon that says sale or pre-order or like new feature. Like, all these icons, all this stuff has to be made, and you have to make it, and you actually have to like build your Kickstarter page, and that takes a while to kind of do and structure that. On top of that, you also have to build like your Kickstarter video, which is promoting everything that you're doing, and you have to schedule that. Like, all that, it takes a month, and you might not even have enough time within a month just to do all that stuff. It gets pretty hectic.
Yeah, man. Especially, you're designing it, you're implementing it, and then you're trying to strategize for the game as well. That's a lot of hats that you have to wear.
Exactly.
Did you ever think about hiring someone to like intern or to like offload some of that work? Was that ever a conversation that you guys had?
Well, to even start the studio, we basically cut our salaries in half. So we had enough money to pay rent and eat groceries.
Okay.
That's it. Like, there was no money to like that type of stuff. I wish.
yeah, say no more. I get you.
Yeah. So like we went, like, I got in the hole pretty deep with the project, just because it's a project of passion at that point in time. Something you want to do, something you care about. That's what the whole indie thing is supposed to be about. Is working on something that you love, bringing something new into the industry that you couldn't do under a AAA umbrella. It's those things that are what make a indie like endearing and special to people.
Okay. So now, when you're running your own ship, you get to make more of the decisions, obviously, right? Like, more of the art direction, right? There's no one giving you feedback. You're giving yourself feedback. Do you feel like there was way more pressure, that you don't have a boss to please? Because, like, if you have an art director who's telling you what to do and you're trying to please him, that's a certain type of pressure. But then when you have the freedom and the luxury to design whatever you want, there's still like a different type of pressure, which is, if I F it up, it's all on me. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Can you take me through what that was like?
There's a lot of self-discovery because of exactly what you just mentioned. There are parts of you that haven't been discovered yet, that you haven't even like seen in your own mind that you go into, because of those aspects that you're kind of mentioning. I honestly, as soon as we hit and we started making things, I felt like I had shackles removed off of me that I didn't even know I had on me. I was like, wow, I have all these abilities that have never been exercised before. All this new realm of like, yeah, these are now my ideas. I can take them down avenues that I've never been able to before and just completely execute on them. And I think it's really important to just kind of believe in yourself too. Like very much believe in your abilities to execute. I think that will at least take you through to the very end, because that's a big thing. Is the mental game is another part of this aspect that a lot of people I don't think really talk about too much. But it's a big mental strain to do something like this, and kind of like in music, right? If you are a solo musician versus a person that's in a band, there's a different type of pressure that you get. Like if you're in a band, like you can play in front of a whole bunch of people, and it's kind of diluted a little bit because you're up there on stage with a whole bunch of different people. But if you're on stage just there by yourself, all eyes are on you. If you and like you were saying, if you mess up, it's on you. And it's kind of the same thing when you're doing indie development. Like you're not under the AAA umbrella. You can't disperse all this blame of like, oh, okay, I wasn't part of that system, and that's not on me. Now it's all on you, and you take everything really personal too. Like once you go into early access, it's basically, what do you think of my little baby? And people are very verbal. They will tell you, this sucks, this is stupid, why are you lazy?
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
why are you calling me all these names?
Yeah, like, you're right. Like you said on AAA, like, oh, the caves look bad. Oh, well, I didn't work on the caves. I did the grading.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's indie and you basically are one of two people, or in your case, the one person who does the art, if anybody has any feedback about the art, that's them directly critiquing you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And there's another thing that I kind of discovered within the indie realm too, which I hadn't realized that it's kind of obvious once I say it. It'll be obvious, but I didn't acknowledge it. If you look at some of the projects that are on, so like Greenlight stuff and some of the indie stuff that are in early access, how in visual arts, if you see like a CG person, there's the uncanny valley of like when it gets to be too real, there's that disconnection of like, okay, this is kind of creepy because it's trying to be real, but it doesn't look real enough, right?
Yeah.
And that's called the uncanny valley for visual arts. So in game development, I discovered there's a brand new valley.
Okay.
Because you can do like a 2D side scroller and have like XY functionality, right? And it's completely accepted. If you have XY functionality on a game that looks a little bit more real or starts going towards the AAA realm, it's a lot less forgiving. People won't forgive you for that. They will expect AAA quality on the rest of the product. Your options menu has to be exactly like a AAA options menu. You have to have rebindable keys. You have to support 20 different monitor resolutions. And once you enter that realm of it starting to be AAA, the public will accept the whole game as AAA and will judge you for it.
So they don't think about the fact that it was 5 people making this game.
They do not care at all. At all. And being a consumer myself, like I see where they're coming from, but being on the other side, I'm like, they don't understand what it takes and the man hours involved into getting all these things going, and the sacrifices that the indie people have to make a game in the first place. It's an act of God to be able to complete and ship a game for an indie person, just the game itself,
Well, can you take us through, I guess, your rise to art director, like maybe from junior artist to prop artist, environment artist, senior environment artist, art director? Were there any notable fights that you had to overcome as you were rising through the ranks?
Not too many actually. Like I always have, just with me. I know a lot of you guys are kind of the same way as me. Like we always try to be the hardest worker in the room, no matter what. Like I'm never the person to tell someone else like that's not my responsibility. I've never used that line to anybody. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, and I'm not an animator, if they're like, hey, the animation on this character needs to get fixed, I will never tell them that's not my responsibility. If the person telling me that doesn't know that, I will find them an answer. I'll go to the animator, I'll go to who I need to talk to, and find them an answer. I've never like made an excuse to anybody. So having that mindset, that's a winning mindset. That's a senior mindset. I've always kind of had that. So it's easier to rise to the ranks when you behave in a senior way at the junior level.
Okay. I like that. That's going to help me out a lot. On the way up. Hey James, do you have any questions, man? If you're more than welcome to chime in. If so, I want to give you an opportunity to say something.
Yeah, no,
Um,
we were trying to get it like extended out.
Well, Aiden, I guess the
but
question I have is just
yeah, yeah.
is like, how do you meet your deadlines and rise to the occasion when it comes crunch time?
Oh, man. That's a good one.
Yeah, so like it also like within AAA, we always kind of held ourselves to deadlines. There'll be times that you will have to work nights, work weekends, especially when it's your own project, when it's your own head on the line, basically. Like that's kind of what you end up doing is just saying I'm gonna make this no matter what happens, and with with us we were kind of in a unique situation because the engine was new. Nobody had used the engine. There's barely any games like actually made within the engine, so we're learning as we're going. So we're setting deadlines with an expectation that we're going to find out how to do what's on the deadline. So it's like suppose that the deadline for this month is like get the camera in the bridge and have it do a couple animations and that's the milestone is getting all the camera set up for the game. I have day one I set that milestone, but I have no clue how to do any of that. Zero, no clue. So you got to use YouTube University is what I call it. Just YouTube videos and all that stuff. You can just look up tutorials. So what you end up doing is prototyping it outside of the game in a test level with really simple things. That way, other aspects of the actual big game don't interfere it, and you can troubleshoot exactly what you're making. I think a common mistake with people is that they end up prototyping within the game that they're making, and there's other aspects of it that can completely like fail. All your blueprints can fail, other stuff can fail, and then you end up going into this rabbit hole of like, damn, I don't know how to fix this now. I have to look up all these systems. But if you work in a self-contained, if you keep breaking out whatever system you want in that milestone, okay, camera system, start a new level, prototype in this level, and you're like, okay, it works here, it works in the self-contained space. Now I can bring it into the actual game and put it into the game. So I think that little tricks like that will definitely help you like meet deadlines and kind of stay ahead of the game. And it'll let you learn a little bit quicker because there's a lot of times, especially with some of these engines, that you think that you made it right, but it's barely held on. It's held on by glue. You didn't even know that. And that will be exposed in that self-contained area. If you're in the game, there might be other aspects that either can break it or other aspects that are helping it make it work. And you don't know those things, until it's too late, basically.
Now let me kind of springboard off of his question and kind of add to it. Were there any deadlines in this past game you released, Into the Stars, where you guys were behind and you had to still come through and make sure that the date didn't slip? Do you have any experience on that specifically from this past project, or were you guys just always on key the whole time?
We were always on key, and the deadlines weren't like we didn't have huge deadlines like that, like in usual AAA development. Like the only ones that kind of come to mind were Kickstarter was a deadline for us, so we had to make a build for the Kickstarter, and that was a really rough one because the Kickstarter was mostly visual. So there were a lot of systems that the guys were working on, but I had to make the game look presentable, like it was a shippable game, and it mostly was, but there were a lot of stuff that was broken behind the scenes that it wasn't actually available for a person to play just yet.
Gotcha.
There was still like a good couple weeks before that happened. So I had to front load a lot of the visual stuff for that Kickstarter video to make it make it very polished, and something that I would be proud of when I show people and stuff. So that was one deadline, and then Epic decided to host us at their booth and they had a couple of other indie developers, and that was a really awesome experience and very gracious of Epic to do that for us. But they took us to GDC and had us at their booth. So that was another milestone because that was going to be the first time that people were actually going to get to play it. So we had to clear as many bugs as we could possibly can. We had to get everything, all the visuals in there, all the systems working with each other, get a front end, which we didn't even have in the first place. So we didn't have like a main menu, any of that stuff. So we had to get all that stuff in. So that was another milestone that we had. And then we had like green light. That was one milestone to pass green light, which we passed like within 2 days, which is really awesome that we got the green light. That and early access. So there are probably like 3 or 4 major milestones that kind of hit us, and Uh, they were hectic for sure, but we didn't slip on them.
Dude, I'm happy to hear all that. Since we
Yeah.
kind of, well, no, because look, I like you guys and I want to see you do well. So I'm glad that you had opportunity milestones instead of failure. Like oh shoot, we're behind on regular stuff. Let alone
Yeah.
oh shoot, we got to get this done for Epic. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
lot of devs out there who are like slipping on just their own internal milestones.
Right.
So, well, let's ask a fun question. Kickstarter, you're successful, you reach your goal, and then some. You don't have to say the amounts, but did they just send you just like a PayPal check just for the whole thing in one day? And you guys are like, oh,
Yeah, I didn't handle a lot of the money stuff, but
Okay.
that is what basically happened. They sent us a check for the amount, but because we took such a big hit and we were working basically off fumes,
Mhm.
honestly, with the budget that we had, like that money was pretty much accounted for from day one. Like
Mhm.
that was barely gonna get us like, and a lot of people's perception is that Kickstarter, these devs are gonna take the money and buy Ferraris with it, and then like early access, they're just banking on money, and and with people beta testing their game, like the reality is that it's none of that. It's like very much zero of any of that. Like we barely had enough money to get like music, sound, and able to actually complete the project. And thankfully we signed on with a publisher. Iceberg was there, and they're really awesome. And then like just the early access period too. Like it's not like we had a massive amount of sales that were sitting there like we won't release a game. We could just hang on early access and hang on an island somewhere driving Ferraris. Like the only Ferrari I'm gonna be able to afford is a Matchbox one or Happy Meal. That's the only Ferrari I'll be able to afford.
Gran Turismo has all those cars. And
Yeah.
They only cost $60.
But people's
So-
perception is very different. Their perception of what game development is different than the actual hard math and the hard numbers.
My next question for you is now going back to skill sets. You are a team of, I think, 5 individuals in total. Was it 5 or 4?
Four.
Team of 4. Knowing what you know now, going through Kickstarter, making an Unreal 4 game that's approaching and surpassing and maintaining at AAA level quality. Like depending on what things you were offering, you wanted to maintain a very high visual bar. Let's just say. Would you say that you have a repeatable process now that you've done it once, or are there major things that you would change if you had to do it again?
There's definitely things that would change just from learning.
Okay.
So the early access experience really it made me realize a lot of things that I didn't know that consumers really wanted in day one. So if a person releases a game, this is like my advice to any indie developer that's thinking of making a game or they actually have a game out there, like there's certain things that you have to have day one or else you're going to get reamed with negative reviews. And I didn't know any of this, right? Like people on day one expect you to have multiple resolution settings on your system.
Damn.
On your day one.
They don't want you to just like, hey, can you just test this game and let us know it's fun?
Not at all. And we're talking early access too, where some of that stuff would be acceptable. They do not, because most people have different size monitors. And they have different video cards that maybe don't support certain types of resolution, so they wouldn't be able to even play your game, right? So you have to at least support. And here's another thing is that you have to support 2 different aspect ratios. Like us, we come from like a console development. You're gonna develop by 16:9, 1080p. You're gonna make your game, and that's all you have to worry about. With PC, you have to make it 16:9 and 16:10 because people want different aspect ratios. A lot of people haven't adopted the 16:9 aspect ratio. They're still using different monitors. And what's cool about Steam is that they give you the data of the hardware and like resolutions that people are playing your game at. So you'll see like 33% of people are using 16:10 resolution for your game. And when we released in early access, we didn't have that resolution. We were using a really duct tape ghetto UI for our game because Unreal didn't have a UI system when we started making the game. So we went into the Unreal forums, and it turns out this guy had written one that you could use Adobe Edge to make your UI, and it would do blueprint calls so you can have an actual UI for your game. So by that time, that was the solution basically. We
What
didn't
version of
have it.
Unreal was this? What
It was
version of Unreal?
when we started, it was about like 4.1, 4.2. Like we started day one, right when they announced the actual engine for everything.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm about to say that shouldn't be there. But I
Yeah.
guess,
So we got to the last version that we were able to update our game to was 4.7, which had UMG in it, but the UMG was still a little bit like there were some bugs still. Like right now, I would do all UMG because UMG is phenomenal. It's solid. It does some awesome stuff. Like it's really good. But right when we started, they were just like barely, the UMG wasn't even in, and then it got to a point where they checked it in. It was under the experimental tab, so you were, at your own risk, use it, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that was an unfortunate thing for our game that we had to do. It was a pretty big hit because the UI is basically static on the screen. Like I want to do a lot of things where the captain's moving around, he's looking around, and having these menus actually in 3D space on these monitors and stuff. And unfortunately we weren't able to do that stuff. And it's in game development. There's stuff you just like, okay, we have to make it this way. That's it. Just keep marching forward.
Yeah.
Those are hits you have to take.
Crazy, man. What was the biggest personal success for you in your independent career thus far?
I think for me it was getting a job at DICE. Like to me that will always be like I made it in video games. Yay! when I got that job, I was pretty happy. Working with some really great people. That studios, it's legit. They're awesome. They treat their employees really well. They'll treat them and they just respond to everybody. They'll have like weeklies where they'll talk to you and ask you like, is your week going good? How you doing? You need anything? They really take care of people. And the fact that they're working on Battlefield, which to me at that time like was pretty much one of the highest visual bars for video games. That engine is legit, and their visuals are really, really strong. And they always have been like strong visual people. So me being an artist, getting a job there at a game studio that's delivering that high visual fidelity, that was it for me. I was like, oh man, this is it. I made it.
Well then, speaking about visual fidelity, have you seen the new demo from Unity, the Atom demo?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It looks amazing. It looks really, really good.
So here's my question to you as an artist. You've used Unreal 4 and you've unlocked, incredible capabilities with that engine. Do you feel like Epic Games' chokehold on being the #1 consumer-based engine is threatened right now, or how do you feel as a professional? Do you feel any incentive to leave Unreal or try something new, or are you sticking with Unreal? What are your thoughts?
So being an old dog in this industry, I know one thing. When you see a demo for anything, for new software, new tool, it only shows that they got an insanely good artist to do something. At the end of the day, these are all tools that people use, right? They got a really good artist that was able to use these tools and make an insanely good demo. Unreal's power isn't necessarily its visual fidelity, but it's insanely high. But the power that Unreal holds is the ability to let a person prototype quickly. They put tools, they put icons, they put everything that's in the menu system is laid out in a very accessible way. So the tool isn't in the developer's way at all. If they think that the light menu should be there, all they have to do is go over there, and chances are it's there. It's exactly where you expect things to be. That's the power of Unreal. Like the power of Unreal is that it's a tool made for devs by devs. And there will always be greater than any engine because of it.
Okay, I like that. So not yet Unity, huh? Still a little ways to go.
I haven't used it too much.
You don't have to answer that question because I don't want to start any fights.
No.
I was just wondering.
I got my Unreal underwear on right now, so.
Yeah, you're like, Larry, I just said Epic Games took me to GDC and took me to E3, gave me a booth. And you want me to talk bad about that? I just wanted to see how tight the bond was, that's all.
No. At the end of the day, it's still a tool. It's a tool, and it's your ability and how comfortable you are in that tool. If you're really good at Unity and you feel like you can your fish and water inside of it, use it. Use whatever you can. It's all about end result and end goal.
Okay.
Anytime.
As a top level environment artist, because you're top tier in my opinion. You've worked AAA, you've worked independent, PC. Once you cover the gamut and you're good, I consider you top tier. My question for you is, using Unreal 4 with all your experience in the prototyping, were there any plugins or tools that were just like, hey, yes, I have Unreal 4, but I also have this, this, and this, and I wouldn't have been able to make Into the Stars without the help of these tools?
For sure.
Or were you just the basics? I just took my Maya, brought it into Unreal, took my Photoshop, painted my model, and I was done.
One of my like Swiss Army knife tools that I always use in game development is the Quixel suite,
Okay.
which has like Endo and Dedo built into it. So what that does is it lets you create textures and normal maps very, very quickly.
Okay.
It basically shaves off like weeks of your time in art. So all I have to do is get a high res model, build out my low res. I bake out and I get like an AO map and a normal map out of that bake, and take it into this tool, and it procedurally knows where like divots are, where creases are on the mesh, and it'll let me do like rust on that stuff, paint it out, and do like surface detail on it, where the finished model is this really top tier painted clock, And
Okay.
the fact that you can do that within 30 minutes to an hour and get this pro result, where before, years ago, you'd have to paint all that. You'd have to paint every single little piece of rust that's coming down a screw. You got to paint all that, and it's gonna take you like a week to do a piece. And you go from a week time to an hour. That's a lifesaver.
So I see why it's in your toolkit.
Yeah.
Is there another tool besides the Quixel suite?
Let's see. I mean, I'm a Max guy, so Max has always had probably the stronger poly tools out of anybody. They're the type of people that if the community develops a really cool poly tool, chances are they're going to put it into an iteration later on, and they've always been that way. You get into the other tools, like I'm not a big Maya guy. I'm adamant, like not a big Maya guy, because they haven't been updating their poly tools. To me, their poly tools are like almost 10 years old. Which is you can get scripts online, and whenever you go to a studio, the first thing you do is like get everybody's Mel scripts, because they've souped up Maya to be able to do what Max does from day one. And I'm just like, oh, come on, man.
And aren't they owned by the same company now? Why?
They are. And the running gag within us is like, man, you guys should go to lunch. Like, go take the Maya team, go take the Max team, go to lunch. Go to like go eat somewhere, hang out, and like
Varsity, junior varsity, huh?
Yeah.
Oh man. I
See,
think Brandon, you're still on mute, buddy.
Still muted.
Still can't hear you. Nope. All right. Well, I'm just gonna keep moving. So, if you could, do you have any projects that you're working on right now that you wanna like brag about or talk about? I seem to know that you have some stuff.
Yeah, I'm currently working on a small game, kind of a Zelda type game, where it's a third-person adventure game. It's called Project Diode. I'm kind of taking all my lessons learned of working in indie and anywhere that I've worked before, and I want to take a stab at making the entire game by myself. I took my whole game development career as a learning experience through every single field. I know a lot of advice that people give to people in game development is to stick to one thing and be really good at it. I've never been really happy with that advice that they tell people. Like, I agree with it to some degree. Like, take one thing and be good enough to be employed with it, and take it as far as you can. But there are other realms within game development that make you a much valuable piece of the cog, that those aspects are what's going to keep you there when they have layoffs. That's what's going to keep you there to second round layoffs. Like the fact that you can actually do cinematics, do lighting, help people out getting their blueprints on or whatever they need to do. That's a generalist at that point in time. That's not a person that's concentrated on one aspect of their career. That's a person that gets to know everybody's stuff and gets to be agile within their field too.
Yeah.
So I've within my 10-year or 11-year career, I always wanted to, like, I'll go to the sound department, ask them, like, hey, how did you get the sound in here? How did you do this? I'll talk to the effects team. How did you do this? And I'll ask a lot of questions to every single part of the team. And I've been accumulating that over the years, just learning all the back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon's trying to get.
Still can't hear you.
Still can't hear you.
Is the red light on your microphone on? Well, your video's gone, so I won't know if he's saying yes or no. All right, Alden, back to you.
All right. So I decided to just amass all this knowledge over time, knowing that at one day I was going to pull the trigger and actually get to use that stuff. So that's where I'm at now with Project Diode. Over the years I've learned how stuff's implemented, how animations work, how you put a sound on animation, how you do footsteps and all that stuff. So I have a working prototype, and I hope people try it out and give me feedback on it. It's I'm sure that the link is available somewhere here. It's at diodegame.com. The prototype's completely free. It's about a 10-minute prototype. You should be able to get out of you talk to people in the town, get some clues to be able to get out of the town. So I encourage anybody to please pick it up and give me some feedback on it. I'm looking specifically for some controller feedback and how the movement feels and stuff. It's because it's a sandbox. There's not much actual gameplay. There's just features in it. So,
dude, that game sounds like small town high school. The game. You talk to some people, figure out how to get out of town. Get out of here.
It's like Zelda. You go to Lon Ranch and get some milk.
Yeah. That's dope, man. That's dope. Well, as hard as it was for the team of 4 to make a game, you've got to be absolutely crazy to say, man, I think I need to do this by myself. Or maybe that's exactly why you did it by yourself. Are you trying to say that, teams of 4 making big games is not the way to go anymore?
I feel like I had a lot of lessons learned, enough where my eyes opened, where I realized that it's possible for me as an individual, because of what I did, amassing all that knowledge over time. I felt comfortable in pulling that trigger. Like, if I hadn't done that before with that strategy, I wouldn't say, hey, I'm going to make my own game, because it's daunting. There's a lot of things, a lot of aspects of other people's part of game development, of animation, of characters, game design, scripters. There's a lot of those aspects that one person usually, they don't know that. They have to do a lot of research, a good amount of research to learn that. And on purpose, I put myself in that gauntlet, like picking that stuff up over time, knowing that one day I really wanted to make something. Like what I want to do is make a license. I'm a big Robotech, Voltron, Thundercats. I'm a fan of that. Exactly, and what that meant to me as a child, and how it's stuck with me as an adult. Those licenses are part of people's their livelihood. They're part of people's characters, right? And there's a lot of life lessons that came out of those IPs and stuff. I want to be part of that. I want to hold a legacy that transcends time, that sticks with people and shapes people. That's my aspiration. Hopefully, I get anywhere near close to that dream, but that's what I aspire to.
And most people don't know that IP is actually short for IPM, which is I print money. So ask anyone who holds the rights to an IP that you know about. They will tell you, oh yes, Transformers 9 is on the way because I print money.
My plan with this game is to make it the cheapest game that will make everybody else go, damn, why did you make your game that cheap and be that good? I want to provide more value for the customer than they're used to in game development. I want to price it at $10 or $12, price it really low and give them something that they haven't expected at that price point. And
I'm nervous because there's probably a lot of developers out there who are like, no.
Yeah. Because I believe in giving more value to your customer. You have to be that person that gives more value to them.
Yeah, I respect that 100%, man. Definitely, definitely, because I can get behind somebody who's saying, look, I'm making a product, but I also respect my customer. Like, I'm not going to extort them every 3 minutes to get them to spend more, because that's essentially what the kids are growing up in right now.
Exactly.
Is video game extortion or digital prostitution almost is the best way to describe it.
And they're finding
that's the business model.
Ways. They're finding new and unique ways to extort that and squeeze as much money. They see that the $60 game is dying. They see that business model is dying, so they're trying to adjust quickly to not lose that revenue of the $60 game. How could they do downloadable purchases, and how do they do like little cards and updates and all that stuff that a lot of these people are doing? Which, I mean, I see it. Their bottom line, and I know that it's providing people with jobs and stuff, but end of the day, it is affecting the consumer, and the consumer, they don't have enough money to like buy 10 games a year. Like that's unreasonable, right? Like $6 a piece, and you're buying like 10 games. That your average consumer they don't have that money. People are going to school. They have needs. They have stuff to pay.
Yep. It's hard, man. The dynamic of gaming or selling games is changing year on year, right? I feel like the major strategies like carry over a little bit, but like people are coming up with all sorts of ways to try to mix and market their games. And if you even just watch commercials now, right? Like I'm seeing commercials for Mobile Strike and Clash of Clans, you know what I mean? And I'm not seeing as many commercials for those $60 titles like I'm usually used to. I feel like the $60 titles are almost exclusively going to commercials on the internet, and I haven't really seen the television commercials anymore because I guess Mobile Strike, Clash of Clans are just buying up all the spots.
Yeah. Well, that and like that, they have changed the actual model because it is like the click-through rate of having online advertising. The data's there, and it does dwarf like TV. It's like YouTube and Twitch marketing is really high, really, really high, especially Twitch. Twitch is the big winner right now. If you can run an ad on a Twitch stream, you're doing good.
All right. So, Mr. Alden Filion, where do you want your gaming career to go from here? As an artist, as an art director, as a game designer also now, like I gotta respect the hustle, man. You're also a game designer now. So where do you want your career to go from here, and how do you plan on getting there?
I definitely I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave an imprint on this industry and have my name known to people's to people's mouths and spoken in respect and admiration. I want to leave what has been left with me with like I was saying, like Silverhawks, Thundercats, all that stuff. Like there's a lot of love there. And if I can provide that for somebody else to fuel their career, their future, and be part of that, and be part of that love, that progress, like that's what I want to do. And I'm hoping to do that with my own game. And if it's not in this game, maybe it's the next game that I leave. But leaving that little imprint, like we all played Nintendo when we were little, like leaving the Nintendo on when you go to school, or writing down Mega Man codes on a notebook, like all that stuff, man. That's endearing to us, man. Like we hold that in huge admiration,
Dude, 007-373-5963.
That's Mike Tyson, right? Is that the Mike Tyson code?
Yep.
You survived that minute 15, you're good to go.
Yeah. That was hard to do, man. That was work.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me check back in on James and see how he's doing. Hey, James, do you have any other questions, my man?
For Aiden, well, I just want to get this done real quick. Cool hearing you talk about going indie, going through the struggles and stuff like that. It's really good to hear about that kind of stuff. I guess my other questions is, I guess, since you talked about, since you went really in depth, I guess what other key things would you have, key advice you would have for people who want to go indie and who want to develop? What other send-offs do you have?
Okay, that's a good one. A lot of people benefit from that question. Thank you for asking that, James.
Yeah. You want to dive into any like actual like go any specific with it by any chance? Like planning the game or
You know, like the planning phase and like the beta and alpha. Like what constitutes the alpha and the beta? I mean, I've been there myself, but you know, what constitutes that? Where would you be at? I mean, I know it's kind of ambiguous question because there's so much stuff that goes in there, but
That's all right.
yeah, that's right. I'll see if I can cover some of it. I would definitely advise people to do some research on your product. Like if you know you're making like a first-person shooter, do your research and know every single first-person shooter that's out there available and even coming out. You know that people maybe it's in green light. Study all their campaigns and look at your competition. Be aware of your competition and look at what the consumers want out of the competition because there'll be a lot of lessons learned out of there. Go to their forums. Go see what these people are asking for out of these games. There's a lot of hidden gems out of there that the competition maybe it was too late for them to shoot and fire on those things, but you're able to do that. You're coming in as a new game. You're able to like, oh, they wanted people to have double handguns or whatever. Let's put in double handguns in our game now. Now we learned that's what they wanted. So definitely go into everybody's forums, look at your competition, go in there and see what's going on and establish that. Establish the vision of your game and don't bend from that vision. It's going to be really easy once you have your game. You're going to see a lot of cooler things around. A lot of new stuff's going to pop out. Have your core game. Your game should be defined by 3 pillars. Find 3 sentences that define your entire game, and those are called your pillars. And don't stray from them. Everything that you do has to come back to that pillar. Everything in that game, like if you're like, oh, I'm gonna, one of the pillars is to be very visually engaging with colors, right? So anything that you make in that game, has to come back to that pillar. If you make a fire hydrant, it's got to be a certain type of red that's going to be very appealing. Everything has to come back to that pillar. That will help you with milestones. It'll help you focus on what's important because when you get into a room of people, very passionate people, the conversation is going to stray. People are going to joke around and, everybody's going to have a good time because, it's game development. Everybody's, they're going to stray and they're going to talk about things and they're going to end up going into the minutia. They're going to end up being stuck on like, man, the wall heights, they're all terrible. We need to get down to the wall heights and all that stuff. I'm like, do any of those things reflect the core pillar of the game? No. Conversation's over. Let's concentrate on the pillars. It helps organize everybody because everybody should be fighting for those pillars and stick with it. Stick with those pillars because, again, like I said, you're going to see a lot of cooler things. Everything's going to pop up because our industry is so fast. There's always something cooler, better, and all that stuff. Like, try to be, in the mix, but don't let that change your mix because it's going to be very easy for you to be like, okay, now our game is a third-person shooter, and the whole time you're like, this is a first-person shooter. Like, it's going to be very easy to do that, and just try not to because you already have a direction. You just drive down that path for sure.
It's a third-person shooter with tower defense and MOBA gameplay.
It'll happen quick, man. You know how that goes. Like MOBA's a new thing now. Now our game's a MOBA. Like that type of stuff. You can't let that stuff happen. And sticking with those pillars, having those be the guy. That way, you're not the bad guy. The pillars are the bad guy. Yeah. Like it's not you. You're away from that. The rules are themselves. They're set. That's it.
All right. I think he's satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, did that cover some of it?
Oh yeah, it hit the nail on the head. So yeah.
Nice. Right on.
Yeah, I can't let the game get too far out there because you can end up with something different, or you end up with something that's just really weird.
Yeah, like exactly.
Like procedural first-person shooter plus this plus this plus this plus this.
Yep. Yeah, you get lost in those buzzwords. Those buzzwords will eat you up quick.
So procedural's the big one now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh man.
It must be procedural.
I want a procedural button where I can just hit it and then like the rest, all my games are just generated. All of the so I can just get it out of the way. Like look at how terrible all these games are, just procedural everything. You need at least a little bit of crafting in there, right? Like you can't just can't be all procedural, but there has to be some sort of rule and guidelines set that still makes it fun.
what's really odd is that games are evolving to a streamable audience now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're no longer interested in what a single player campaign can do. I mean, there's still that huge audience of a single player campaign, but if you look online, what's being streamed the most are these games that do have this evolving gameplay,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a person streaming it and laughing at the outcomes of their actions on it. And we're talking about millions upon millions of viewers that are looking at this game that it fundamentally doesn't have this narrative that's driving you through it, because that's not a streamable game. A streamable game is a game that you can like evolve and like now I can throw chickens, you know, and that wasn't a design thing that you wanted to be able to do in the game, but that's what this streamer's doing, and now he's famous for throwing chickens off a cliff now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that a lot of game developers are focusing a lot of aspects of their games so they're stream friendly.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, Alden, I think we're getting close to wrap-up time. So, do you have any like one or two main points that you just want to promote, advertise, or just make known to the world?
Go buy Into Stars. No, if it's your
feel
type,
free.
if it's your type of game, it's a slower paced indie space sim. So if that's your type of thing, check it out. See if you like it. Look at some YouTube videos. See if you enjoy it. Worked really hard on it. Try to get the visuals to be like at that bar where a lot of space games were at. So I worked really hard to get the visuals at a really high bar. Please definitely check out the Project Diode, which links should be somewhere on here. I think they're on here somewhere. Diodegame.com. Check it out. Please give me some feedback and continue. I'm gonna try to continue iterating on it and hopefully make it what people kind of want out of the game.
How do you want people to send you feedback, by the way?
Just an email it to me, and I do have a little email form on my on diodegame.com, that website, where you can just email me there too.
Okay. Well, I mean, James, you got one more before you go, or should we call it a day?
No, I think we're good. I got most of I got a lot of answers, so I'm just taking notes and just
of course
running through everything these days right now.
If you have any questions, feel free to email me, man. Like I try to get back to people. A lot of people email me asking like advice or look at their portfolio and stuff, and I try to get back to everybody as soon as I can. I'm busy, but I definitely I'm open to that. So feel free, man.
Okay, totally got it.
All right, well, let me just jump in and kind of wrap things up. I want to thank everyone who's participated. James, Alden, Brandon, thank you guys for being on the live version. Everyone who's following and watching us on Twitch right now, you guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for watching. Everyone who's watching the delay, like you weren't here for the live, but you're watching the replay, hey, we got love for you too. Thank you very much for supporting what we're doing here. If you're interested in having more sessions like this, definitely reach out to us at gameschoolonline.com and then see that we have more scholars on the way. We do live events once a month where we bring industry professionals such as Mr. Handsome Alden Filion, my man 100 grand, as they say. We're going to have more professional developers every month. Oh, take the compliment. Every month we have more developers who are going to be doing seminars, who are going to be doing lectures, and we're even going to be doing work sessions as well. So we've got a lot of stuff planned. You definitely want to keep your eyes on gameschoolonline.com. Make sure you at least do the monthly live streams. And if you are someone who wants to take it a step further, who is just this close to getting in the game industry, but you need a couple of tips or some advice, check out some of our scholars who are selling their time, who will just sit down with you, much like we're doing right here, and conversationally help you get better at whatever you're trying to do, whether that's art, programming, design. We have people who will hold you down. So check out Game School Online. Check out Mr. Alden Filion, Into the Stars, or Dialed Game. Either one supports him, and we love him a lot, so either one will be great. And make sure you send him feedback. And to the guys at Fugitive Games, who are also friends of ours, thank you very much for letting us borrow Alden and sharing your stories and experiences, and we wish you all the very best. I'm Larry Charles from Game School Online, and I believe I am out. You like that?